What is going on, guys? My name is Noah. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to answer a really good question from one of my Patreon supporters, one of my biggest Patreon supporters, named Mike Baffa. Mike, I sincerely continue to appreciate your support. And holy crap, you asked some really deep and tough questions, quite frankly. So let's go ahead and get into your question, and let's see what comes out of my mouth hole. Mike says, part of my recovery process was learning to not focus or dwell on my losses in regards to mental health. To be more specific, mental health has a cascading effect. Focusing on your losses creates anxiety. Anxiety strengthens my DPDR, which is depersonalization, derealization, pulls me out of reality and sucks me into horrendous habits, which lead me to neglect my responsibilities, and it creates a vicious cycle. The more recovered I become, the more benefit there is in me simply not talking about it. It allows me to live in the moment and be present to life around me. How has sharing your struggles on YouTube benefited you and or hurt you? And how has this evolved over the many years you've been doing this? Mike, that's about as tough a question as anyone's ever asked me, quite frankly, because it's complicated and I have experienced many different feelings on this topic, and I've displayed many different behaviors in response to this life I've created for myself where I'm constantly sharing about mental health. I certainly was in the beginning always sharing about what I was going through, and then as I've started to get better, I've been having to try to find that balance of when to share, when not to share, how much is helping, how much is hurting others or myself. What aspects of this whole YouTube thing is self-serving, is egocentric? What aspects are pure and for the betterment of others, out of sense of duty, because so many have supported and helped me? I definitely can say that, like, in the early days, my intentions were so squeaky clean. I was just depressed, I was anxious, I was dealing with suicidal ideations, depersonalization, which is being in that dreamlike state, and I was scared. I was just so scared. And I shared my story. I was vulnerable, and that vulnerability endeared me to a lot of people on this platform, and it encouraged them and or created this response where people wanted to be honest with me about what they were going through. And one thing that a lot of us deal with when we are depressed, when we're anxious, when we're suicidal, when things aren't going right, is, especially when we're new, we assume we're the only ones going through it. That's very natural. That's something that I've seen repeated hundreds if not thousands of times since I started this channel, is that people reach out to me and they are certain, they're deeply and genuinely convinced that their situation is different and that they are hopeless. And I thought the same thing. And so back to your question, you know, early on sharing was just cathartic and healing, because I found, to loop back around to why I brought that whole thing up, I found others that had been going through similar things. It gave me peace of mind. It gave me hope. It gave me hope, and hope is such a fleeting thing. But like you were saying, as you work through this stuff, and the long-natured aspect of a lot of these conditions with depression, anxiety, bipolar, DP, schizophrenia, whatever, as you start to work past them, there comes a point where it is a bit exhausting to talk about it, even a little triggering, excuse me, to constantly talk about it. And so I think, without having personally just looked back now, I think my content shifted for a bit to where I was like, well, I feel like I've shared just about everything I can. I didn't have any great updates anymore. You know, it's like if the channel's genesis was to see if I could get better, I feel like I made it to the end to say that I got better. I mean, not to say life's perfect or that depression isn't something you constantly have to work on with self-care, lifestyle habits, therapies, and stuff like that, you know, to stay in remission. But I didn't know what I was doing for a while on here, and I definitely found that I was making less videos, and I felt very at peace about that, but then I always felt this draw to come back, and that's where things got strange for a while, is that I didn't know if I was making videos anymore to help other people or because I liked the attention and I missed everyone, and I still needed you guys, and I was scared to lose you. I was scared to not have the support system. And I've battled with that. I think I even made a video saying, has YouTube made me self-centered, because I've had to ask myself, like, what are you recording for anymore? And it's an internal battle. It's a weird thing. It's a strange thing. I had someone once tell me I was a narcissist. And for a while, I wondered if they were right. Like, has this whole thing taken me from being like a wounded healer to just some narcissistic guy wanting attention? And then I looked up narcissistic. Narcissistic personality disorder is found more commonly in men. The cause, I'll put this here. The cause is unknown, but likely involves a combination of genetic and environmental factors. Symptoms include excessive need for admiration, disregard for others' feelings, an inability to handle any criticism, and a sense of entitlement. So reading that really put my mind at ease because I definitely I feel like I have a need to be on camera. I definitely feel a draw to want attention, and I like showing off sometimes. And that is not all inherently bad or good, it's just sort of like a part of me. Since I was a little kid, I love to perform, I love to make people laugh. I like to command the room. But I don't like doing it at the expense of others. I definitely don't have a sense of entitlement deep within my soul. I really don't. I feel like I'm so blessed and so lucky. I do not feel like any of this is promised to me. And then the part that brought me a lot of peace was the part where it said, disregard for others' feelings. I care so much about other people's feelings. And so as I processed that phase of YouTube where I was kind of uploading some weird random content and realizing maybe I needed to take a step back, I did. I think what I had to do as I evolved is realize that I couldn't just talk about depression and anxiety anymore because I couldn't handle it. I couldn't handle just talking about that, but it was still worth me being here. This still brought me some joy. This is still like therapy for me, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that, and I'm okay with criticism. And so I wanted to see if I could make this work long term, which is kind of what brings us to where we're at now. A few boundaries I did have to set with myself were like, people used to write me. Well, people still do. They write me from all over the world, and I feel very lucky that anyone would care what I thought or what I had to say. But people share with me some very deep, personal, intimate stuff, and I used to read every single message, literally every message. I used to respond to every comment and every message, and at some point, I became so emotionally and physically drained, and I became so connected to other people's suffering that I started to feel very depressed, and I started to feel very anxious in response because I was taking in so much, and I was still dealing with my own stuff. And so I've learned to set boundaries. So now, right, wrong, or indifferent, if someone wants to reach me like Mike did, you know, you basically have to be one of my Patreon supporters, and that's just a boundary I set because I just can't handle all of the influx of pain and suffering. And I just hope and pray that, because everyone deserves help, I just hope and pray my videos can be enough, and the comment sections can be enough to offer something. Whatever good I have to offer, it's really there. And so that's something that evolved and I understood. And I felt really bad about that. I felt like a piece of shit because who was I not to respond to people when so many people, you know, take the time to respond to me. And the truth is I'm only one person, and I only have so much emotional capacity. And I was able to forgive myself for that. And I still occasionally respond to random comments, but I had to set that boundary. And then I think I already said this, but as of current day, I've given myself permission to do other things on this channel. So I want to do mental health videos, but I also want to do fitness videos, and I also want to do TRT videos. I also might want to do a random tag video, a cooking video, a body update video, you know, and set it up so that I can feel the sense of gratification for creating something. I can be sure, based on the comments I get, that I'm still putting good out into the world and that I'm wanted here, and I can let go of the results. I will say that the larger my channel gets, I think it's at 61 or 62,000 subscribers right now, something like that, the more pressure I do occasionally feel to be a good role model, and the more down on myself I can get when I engage in risky behaviors or bad habits. So for those who happen to catch this video, if you ever notice that I go missing on this platform for a week or two, it's because I'm not feeling very good about the way I'm living, and I'll leave it at that. And I think old Noah would just blurt out every little thought and every little issue I'm dealing with, and new Noah wants to be a little more mindful of who I put that on. You know, I just brought up the fact that I can't really handle so well anymore so much of these long-winded life stories because I take them so personal, and it eats me up because I feel like I can't save people. And then I remind myself I'm not God, it's not my job to save, but I feel things, you know. And so I think to that effect, I'm trying to be a little more careful of what things I put out to you guys, because I don't want to overwhelm you. I don't want to seem like I'm just seeking pity or attention, or like I'm not taking responsibility for my own life. And so I try to make sure that if I'm going to share something, it can be a bit more constructive, as opposed to, oh, I've been screwing up lately, you know. Fuck, that's such a good question. You know it's a good question when you've been babbling for like 15 minutes or however long this damn video's been, and you still aren't sure you've answered it. And you know, and I've learned not to take myself so serious. I'll end it at that. One thing's for sure is that I think I went through this phase where I wonder, like, am I more important than I think? when this whole YouTube thing started popping off a little bit. And the good news is I've fully settled into, no, I'm no more important than anybody. But we are all important to someone, and we can be important. And so I've learned to just go with the flow of this YouTube thing. Now my main goal is to create a sustainable structure to where I'm making good on promises to my Patreon people. I'm creating a channel worth watching for you folks, and I'm being honest with myself and being true to myself. And that's always going to be an evolution, because we're always changing, and I just want to look in the mirror and be proud of myself and feel like I'm doing the right things. And I mostly do, but you know, we've all got our demons. I still have mine, but I'm blessed. I'm grateful today. I guess I needed to just ramble, which is cool too. I'm mad at that. And yeah, let me know what you guys think of this question. Answer the question yourself in the comments below. I'd be stoked to read your thoughts, your opinions, your insights. You guys often see me a lot more clearly than I see myself. It's one of those weird things about this platform, is that you guys get to look at me from an outside perspective, and you notice things. You notice tics, habits, the way I speak, the way I look. And it's both cool and kind of frightening. So what do you guys think? You can answer for yourself and your opinion on me if you want. I'd be curious to know what you think. And we'll see you guys in the next video. If you're interested in becoming a Patreon supporter and getting more access to me and getting access to some more exclusive stuff, please feel free to check out the Patreon link right here. Otherwise, subscribe if you like. Join this little YouTube family. You can check out another video right there. And just know that you do matter. You very much matter. And just felt like saying that. Thanks, guys. And thanks, Mike, with your crazy ass, deliciously hard to answer questions.